So do you want us all to mute until you call on us, or how you want this to work?
Yeah, so that would be great. And then I just basically said I want to make it kind of conversational. So I'll ask questions and, just go ahead and whoever wants to answer it first, feel free. And then if you want to raise your hand throughout the process too.
Hey guys, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of Virtual TRA Marketplace. This is day 3. Yes, day 3 of 6. We have 6 days of education sessions and brand demo experiences for you to experience online. If you go to tramarketplace.com, that's the place to find all the links. We are also pushing various sessions over to Facebook. So those of you that are joining us on Facebook, hello. If you want to ask questions there, you can, but I may not see them. So join the Zoom link. That's what I would recommend. This is a session we are super excited to present. Before we kick it off, though, I have to acknowledge the sponsorship that we have from Mission Restaurant Supply. They're a great partner of Texas Restaurant Association and our Education Foundation, and have been for some time. And they are doing a giveaway for this session. So those of you that have signed up on Zoom, you are eligible for the giveaway, and I'll get into that in just a second. But it's important to know that Mission Restaurant Supply is the largest Texas-based food service equipment supplier and dealer. For more than 30 years, Mission Restaurant Supply has maintained a reputation for building strong, lasting relationships and has offered an unparalleled menu of services. Mission has 6 locations across Texas in San Antonio, Austin, my favorite, Dallas, Fort Worth, Corpus, and McAllen that are open to the public. Mission partners with Easy Ice to offer full-service lease programs for commercial ice machines and refrigeration. Full-service leases include all preventative maintenance and service repairs, making an affordable solution for high maintenance equipment. Mission's internal design team can also work with you on concept design and layout while understanding your unique menu, space, and workflow requirements. Mission's metal fabrication shop works with state-of-the-art equipment to create high-quality stainless steel fabricated products. Mission's Charitable Way has become a defining component of their company culture, and they are honored to be able to give away more than 15% of their after-tax profit to charities across Texas, which is huge. Learn more about Mission at missionrs.com. And today, guys, Mission is raffling off a Warren Extreme blender with a 64-ounce Raptor container and an extra 64-ounce Raptor container, which is valued at $500. Unfortunately, our panelists here are not eligible, but you are. So all you have to do is make sure that you are registered on Zoom, and you'll be able to enter that drawing. We're going to share that, all the list of names, with our contact over at Mission RS during the session, probably about 30 minutes from now, and then we'll pick a winner and announce it at the end of this session. One more thing from Mission, and then we'll get started on the keynote. That's wonderful. Thank you again to Mission Restaurant Supply for supporting our keynote. This is going to be a very, very exciting session. I'm delighted to turn it over to my colleague in the industry and my dear friend, Miriam Parker, who is the Executive Director for the Austin Food and Wine Alliance. Miriam, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's so great to be overseeing and moderating this panel today. I'm among some very distinguished chef and restaurant owners. It's really, truly an honor to be able to chat with you all today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our panel. We have Chef Tim Love. He is the co-host for CNBC's Restaurant Startup. He has been James Beard nominated, and he oversees 15 different concepts within Texas and outside of Texas. definitely likes to keep busy. We have Chef Tracy Vaughn. Her and her partner, Hugo Ortega, oversees 5 different concepts in Houston. They have received 6 James Beard nominations. I'm hoping next year will be the year. And then we have Chef Sam Hillman Mass of 2 concepts here in Austin, Suerte and Este. They received Best New Restaurant from Food and Wine Magazine. And then we have Chef Annie Ng and Chef Jeremy Mandrell of Bakery Lorraine. They have 3 different concepts in San Antonio and in Austin, and they received Food and Wine Best Bakery in America. Welcome, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So I imagine all of y'all have experienced this pandemic in different ways. I know a lot of us are experiencing some of the similar feelings, but I guess my question for y'all would be, for each of you, is what is your current situation with the pandemic? What are y'all facing currently?
I'll chime in, I guess. I think we can all kind of collectively say what we're facing is probably the biggest challenge we've ever had in the industry, and it's been said over and over again without a doubt. But now, as we start to come over the hump, or at least that's what I feel like we are in Texas, especially, you know, we got open 6 weeks after everything kind of shut down, and I felt like things really got charged up. Things were feeling really good. The governor chose to take a step back. I think that was really detrimental to the business, honestly. Although maybe it was great for our health, and you know, I think that's one of those challenges we won't ever know. But on the industry side of it, it was very challenging to have built up some momentum and then to take a step back. And then I feel like now that we're, you know, 5 or 6 weeks later from that particular date, at least I'm seeing it in the 3 cities that I'm in, or 4 cities that I'm in Texas. We really are, you can just kind of feel the energy kind of changing again, like I felt like we did in June, to where people are getting a little bit more confidence. I think we're all living with the mask deal as opposed to it being some sort of crazy challenge to have a mask. I think it's just understood now, which I think is a great thing. People are feeling safe with the situation and what it is. And so for us and our group, we just had a meeting literally last week about it's time to be on the offensive, and we're starting to look forward to how are we going to do this now. And, you know, we kind of gotten rid of the whole new normal mantra. We're not doing that anymore. I kind of describe it as like, you know, if you have a favorite hike you used to take, and, you know, you go up the trail and you know exactly where you are when you're a quarter of the way there, you know exactly where you are when you're halfway there, and you have these different markers as you go to the top of the mountain, whether it be on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And now all of a sudden that trail has been closed and it's never going to open again. So we still have the same mountain we have to climb. So we have to forge a new trail to do it. That doesn't mean we're not going to get to the top, because I think everybody here, especially on the panel and people listening, are capable of doing that. Otherwise they wouldn't be listening. But you have to look at it like that. It's not a new normal. It's just the way that it is now. You got to open up a new gate. You got to get out the machete. You got to carve a new path and get your way to the top. That's the challenge that we're putting in front of our team now, is finding a new way to the same mountain. We know what the mountain is. We're all professionals, and we need to now not think about the old trail because it doesn't exist anymore. And the more you try to think that you're going to get back to the normal, the longer it's going to take you to find your new path. And that's just been my mantra for my team. And so that's our state of being right now. I'm trying to stay positive through the whole thing, but in the same time, carving our new path to the top of the mountain.
That's a great analogy. Great analogy. What about everybody else? Tracy?
Right now, we have 4 restaurants all in Houston, and we have opened up 3 of those restaurants for dinner and brunch only. We decided not to open for lunch because there's nobody in the offices right now. That's the majority of who goes out for lunch. So we're sort of in a holding pattern on that. And we have 1 restaurant downtown that's in a hotel that's near the convention center and the sports arenas and place where they do concerts. So there's nobody down there. So we haven't been able to reopen that. So, you know, we're evaluating that every day. And then the PPP, we received that, and now we are kind of worried about the tax consequences of it. I didn't even give that a second thought until recently. And I know that Emily Williams-Knight has been really fighting on our behalf about that, but I didn't realize that the money that we spend of the PPP, whatever we spend that on, is not tax deductible. So if you spent $500,000 on employee payroll and rent and utilities, those things are no longer deductible from your bottom line. So that was sort of shocking to me. I just sort of came to the realization. So working on that now, and that's where we are.
Yeah. What about y'all, Annie and Jeremy?
We are currently at 25% on 3 of our locations. One of our locations has a children's museum, and it's by appointment only, but we still staff it. And then our highest traffic store, we've closed the dining room. It's just been too difficult to police. So we're looking forward to getting that back open. The 25% seems to be working for us right now. Not long term, but.
Right, but yeah, we're in the same boat as everyone else, trying to figure out, well, it's time to move on to the next phase. How do we get going? How do we make our staff feel safe moving forward? And figuring out everything on the back end, leases, rent payments, loans, yeah.
So my name is Sam. I'm the owner of Suerte. I'm very happy to be a part of the conversation. And yeah, I can say it feels like we're all in the same storm, but in a different boat. Every restaurant has a unique kind of operating structure and concept that responds differently to how the business environment has been kind of turned upside down and shook. And so, what works for one may not work for another. And, the staff and the human beings that are the lifeblood of any business, they're all handling things differently. And the challenge of keeping morale and everyone pulling in the same direction, I think, is something that every business faces. For Suerte, right now, we kind of tweaked our concept and communicated that we're calling what we're doing now Suerte Taqueria, because we felt like, at least for our concept, which was, 140 seat, upscale, chef driven, Mexican food with ingredients from local farmers, where the menu changed a lot. It was hard to see a component of that business that was resilient in the takeout environment, and our menu and food style did not lend itself to takeout. So we converted to the taqueria to have a structure where we could operate with a lean team and have a menu that worked well for both dine-in and takeout, giving us the best chance to break even and sustain jobs and paychecks for all of our management and employees and health insurance benefits. And so we're operating in that structure where we have kind of a slightly more limited and menu with a little bit lower prices. It's a bit more of a casual experience than we had before, which we feel like is a more natural fit for the times. And people are worried about their checkbook these days. So for us to say, we're going to do more affordable, good food, we felt like is a resilient concept that, like, we can't predict the future, what bumps will lie ahead, but at least we feel like we found a path that works well as a resilient concept in different environments. And we're trying to keep it fresh and fun and offer some daily specials and collaborate with other people around town, and enjoy the job and enjoy the work, enjoy working as part of a team and people that we like being around. And so that's what we're doing at Suerte.
So then, as far as, I think that's a really good example. So for the rest of y'all, like, what what changes have y'all had to make in order to be able to do something like what Sam and Fermine have done? Like, what modifications have you made to your business? Like Tracy, you mentioned not offering up lunch. You know, Chef Love, is there something that you've done to your current business to adjust it so that you could do, like for Lonesome Dove, for instance? Like, have you offered a modified menu in order for people to be able to order it to go and pick up?
So, I mean, I could tell a really long story here. I'll try to keep it very short. When everything was shut down, I closed everything in Fort Worth, moved everybody to my corporate office. We shut down our satellite stores, just like everybody did. And I went to the kind of the place of where all the hospitality people were being laid off. I laid off 380 people myself. We put together a package for them of how to get unemployment. We did everything we could to make it as easy as we could for them. And then we converted the corporate office to feeding lunch and dinner to all of our employees and any other hospitality people that were in Fort Worth that had been laid off. So we fed about almost 18,000 meals during the close down. And that was our focus. We created what we called Bring Love Home for others so they could basically donate to my cause. It was $40 for 4 meals for a family of 4. So 16 meals for $40. And they picked it up. We took all that money, put it into the program just to make sure that our people were taken care of. And I kept my whole management team at all the places and all their benefits throughout the whole closure. So our whole focus the whole time was to be on the open. So when we opened, when the governor said we could open on May 1st, we were able to open every single one of our restaurants, even at 25%. And we were able to get our employees to come back because we kept in touch with them. We kept them fed. We did everything we could to keep all of them. They wanted to work. And so from that point on, I wanted to make sure we didn't change anything about any of the restaurant concepts. What we did do during the shutdown as well is create a new ghost kitchen concept, which we're now in 5 cities today. Today we launched Knoxville, which is called Burritos, Fajitas, and Ritas. And it's a full burrito, fajita, margaritas, queso, 3 salsas delivery or pickup in all 5 cities. And we also went on to Gold Belly as well. You can order the whole burrito setup, a 6-pack of burritos, queso, 3 salsas, all packaged in really nice packaging on Gold Belly. That just started last week. So we went parallel on two different areas to try to just generate cash. My whole focus is generate cash to keep the team alive. And we've been doing that fairly well. And like I said, just now in the last 3 weeks, we felt like we've turned the corner to where we can really go on the offensive and start really pushing towards really marketing the restaurants, employing them, more people, kind of firing up on all cylinders, so to say. I think as Sam said, the funny thing about the restaurant business is there's no right answer to what anybody should do because every single deal is different. Every single building is different. Every location is different. I have 3 places in Houston where people are still not very excited about going out. And I got, 2 places in Austin, same thing. But in Fort Worth, everybody's ready to go out. I mean, they're 2 hours away from each other. So there's a lot of juggling and a lot of team morale, to Sam's point. Like, it's a constant, I have a call with all of my 56 managers every single Tuesday morning. And the main thing is stay positive. What can we do? Focus on our core values and how we teach our teams and how we do things. And the twist is doing that to a constant. And then also we have to be successful on the money side, right? If we're not bringing any money in, it's hard to be positive. It's hard to keep people going, keep people employed. And the goal through all this, I think, in the business is to A, not lose money, and B, keep your people. I mean, that's really the goal here. I mean, those who think they're going to go out and make money right now is an impossibility. That's not it. Staying positive, letting people know that you're there for them. I mean, we've got mental issues going on along with all this other stuff. We have to be there for our teams. And we're launching a new wellness program in like 2 weeks called Love Thyself, where we have a 30-day program that I'm sending it to my whole management team for their daily food. Yoga twice a week, all by Zoom, or if you do it in person, you can. It's very important to me to keep the team. And I think sometimes in the business, it's easy to focus on labor. It's easy to focus on this. And you lose that. And for us, our focus the biggest change has been to just solely focus on the team.
Hey, Jeremy, did you want to say something?
We have we've kind of had to turn inward a little bit. We're very active in our community, but take over our team first. It's kind of been a good thing for our dynamic with our employees, with our staff, is we include them in the decision-making process now. I'm former military, and when I was in the military, I might have been fine with making decisions for someone's life, but not at a restaurant, you know. And so we sit them down, and we right now are we're working at their comfort level. Since they're on the front line and they're dealing with this every day, they've had to deal with the mask issue and just everything. And so their input now, we get a lot more buy-in. The morale is really high right now, despite everything. And we're still trying stuff.
Right, yeah, but I think that's something good that came out of this, that we're gonna keep going. We also made it a point when this all started, we had to furlough a bunch of employees to, I think, about 80 people, not on the scale of Chef Tim, but we're a pretty small company, so we know everybody, and we made sure to call every single person furloughed or working during that whole time, just to touch base with them and see how they were doing. To keep our folks busy, we had them start making cookie dough, so people could purchase them, take them home, and it was something for people to do at home with their families.
You guys remember the popular baking
cookie dough. I like cookie dough.
There was a popular baking phase of the COVID shutdown.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But we were able to pay rents with that money, buy groceries.
So,
we opened up our commissary space for grocery shopping for staff.
Yeah, so that all went to staff. We would, they could come to our commissary and use it as a grocery store to get all the things they couldn't get from the store. I feel like we had to look inward and really take care of our people during this time.
So one good positive out of all of this is how close.
And I feel like everyone's become a lot closer through all this. And eventually with the PPP money, we were able to hire most of the people back. So we're at about 70%
I think everybody wanted to come back.
Right, yeah.
Tracy, what about y'all?
I would agree that there's more humanity. We've slowed down quite a bit. Our lives were so busy before. We're a 7-day operation, day and night, and generally, had been. And now being open just evenings and brunches has been, it's been really good for the employees and us, as we have a little bit more time on our hands to do things and communicate and check on one another and that kind of thing. So that's been great. Another thing that we have done that has been really different and great has been these Zoom wine dinners. Backstreet Cafe is doing one every Saturday night, and we do about 60 people each time. And we have guests from the wineries or guest sommeliers from around Texas or even other places. The possibilities are endless. We've done some whiskey tastings and things like that. So that's been fun and rewarding. We started our own delivery, which was kind of crazy at times. We got on more delivery platforms. We simplified our menus. The limited hours helped us a lot in not losing as much money. We've always been open from say, during the week, 11 o'clock in the morning, straight through all the way to 10 o'clock at night. And just opening up at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and closing up around 9, like taking the last customers around 9, has made a huge difference in our payroll cost. We're a lot more efficient than we ever were before. That was something we struggled with all the time, was our payroll costs. So, that's sort of a light in all of this. I guess those are some of the things that we've done that have changed.
Yeah. We'll be curious to see what all y'all do after this is over and how much of this stuff is going to stay long-term versus short-term. But drawing ourselves out to the customers. And so with, these constantly, it feels like there's regulations and changes on the ongoing basis. And so how has your communication style changed or adjusted in order to communicate with the customer as far as like what's available, what your hours look like, checking in as far as registration. So how much of that has changed for y'all?
I can start. So one thing that we pivoted to once COVID started is taking management of our online ordering platform for curbside and to go in-house. We used to outsource that, but moving it in has given us tremendous control over it. We can pivot, change menu items, take things out as fast as we had to during this time, and I think that's something we're going to keep.
Our hours seem to be constantly evolving, depending on demand.
Social media, all those platforms, but definitely having more control in-house of all these things has helped a lot. Yeah.
With a restaurant owner who we were having this conversation regarding communication, and I mentioned like, well, why don't you just send an email out to your customers? And I'm like, email? Like, yeah, don't you have an email database? Like, how do you communicate otherwise? I'm like, oh, we'll just do social media. So it's been interesting to see how people have been adjusting. What about you, Tracy?
Well, we started an email database quite a long time ago. So we have about 80,000 in our email database. And we do social media, and we've tried to do a lot of work on our websites, have online stores and that kind of thing, and update the menus all the time, update the hours. So we try to keep the website to be ever-changing, always accurate reference for guests. So that's how we're communicating. And with each other, of course, we're communicating by every means. We have Microsoft Teams, we have, text, and we call each other, and we meet in person. We do, all the things that you would, all the methods of communication that we can.
Chef Love, what about you as far as having as many concepts as you have? How are you able to manage all that communication that happens to customers?
Well, honestly, I would say that's probably our poorest section. When you have places in so many different cities that have different rules and different states that have different rules, and it's been probably our biggest challenge, quite frankly. And we manage, I think, 26 social media accounts, and on top of that, we've got one Lonesome Dove that's got certain hours, and another Lonesome Dove's got certain hours, just depending on the city, right? Somebody called me the other day and asked me if Atico was open on Monday, and it literally took me about 10 minutes to figure out if it was. I couldn't remember if we had started to open back up on Mondays or not, and which is rough. It's slightly embarrassing, but it just proves the point of we have so many different working parts here, and like Tracy said, we have a really big email list, but there was a time there that we changed the rules and hours at all of our restaurants, 4 or 5 times in a 2-week period, just from all the rules, much less what we wanted to do, just the rules. So it has been a real challenge, and we use those, use social media, we use the email, we use the websites, like Tracy said. I mean, the blessing is we've had time. My IT guys had time to concentrate on doing work to the websites when we weren't open. But I think that's the biggest thing, and it's tough because then you get messages from your guests saying, hey, your voicemail said that you were open on Saturday for breakfast, and you're like, crap. I mean, I didn't even think about the voicemail. I mean, send out the social media, put it on my website. I got the T-shirt. Shit. And then, I was at Woodshed in Houston yesterday, and I had a meeting there before I left, and I heard the phone ring, and we weren't open. So I hear the person call, and the voicemail comes on, and it says we're open for breakfast on Saturdays. I'm like, God dang it. And we're not. So, I mean, I made the correction, but the management has so much more on their shoulders now, with the safety protocols that we put in place a long time ago. And we take temperatures, we do contact tracing, we're very intense with our COVID playbook is very thick and very intense. And, and then, it's hard to be like, I can't believe you didn't change the voicemail. Like, of course, they didn't change the voicemail. Who leaves a voicemail anymore? So like, you don't think about it. It's been a real challenge. I would say that's probably our biggest fault, honestly, through all this. I feel like we've done pretty good. And we feel like we communicate good, but it's just, there's no history to go on, as we all know. And so nobody has a checklist, although I feel like we got 475 checklists, but yeah, that'd be tough for us. But that's what we do. We have big banners now that we put out in different places, and I don't really like the way those look, but you got to put a banner out to let people know you're even open now, right? That's the new thing. It's like that old sign that's in those really old, really delicious Chinese restaurants where the light goes around the open. You put one of those in the window, let people know you're open. I mean, that's just what you do. I mean, so we have them everywhere. It's crazy.
What about you, Sam? How have you guys been able to communicate with your customers?
Yeah, so we only have one restaurant right now. I guess Este is a new restaurant that's kind of under development, and we've started gardening on that property, so we manage a little bit for what's going on over there. But for the most part, it's just Suerte, and so I certainly understand the 3 or 4 notches more complexity having 15 or multiple concepts that it takes to kind of keep all of the communication channels with the same message and the same details of operation. For us, it's really become a huge focus of driving the business is like, okay, so you have a new idea of a pivot. If we're doing meal kits, which we did when we first started, or, changing to the taqueria or a collaboration, that's great. But if people don't know about it, they're not going to be able to come there and spend their money on takeout or coming in. And so that communication for us is key. We have 2 key employees. Their names are Lyric and Wendy. And they just do a fantastic job working closely with myself, the general manager, and AGM, Celia, and Jillian. And we just, at this point, we send out a weekly newsletter every Monday. It's something we start thinking about the prior week, that we plan the content of like, what's the focus? What's the goal of the newsletter? What key information must we tell people? And then reinforcing that with Instagram are kind of the main ways that we communicate with our guests. And like with the taqueria, it's like you can't forget to drive the same points home over and over and over again, because for us, maybe we're bored of saying that we're a taqueria now, that Suerte is like a taqueria. We have the same chefs, the same management, the same ingredients. It's just a little more casual, and it's for dine-in and to go. But for the people that interact with us, we're one of 50 restaurants that shows up in their Instagram feed, or one of 10 businesses that they see on their newsletter. So we might have to remind them more than once of what we're doing, so that the message kind of can sink in. And it's really hard to, you feel like you got to make all these pivots to kind of react to the business environment, because you have to, but it takes a while for customers to figure out what you are. So it's challenging to like change that, and then you got to stick with it long enough to see if it works. And it's tough, but the PR and we work for a great PR agency in Austin called Redfan, and it's a part of our weekly rhythm now. Like what are, you know, where it always was before, but we were full every night before. So we weren't, you know, we were keeping up on Instagram. We always had a social media presence and we sent a newsletter from time to time, but now it's like, it's become like almost like the backbone of how we drive demand. And then we have to live up to our side and make good food and deliver it on time and be nice to people when they come in and fix it when we screw up. But you know, we're
well, I'll say this, your email is pretty consistent. I notice it every week when it comes out in my inbox, because usually you do a great job in putting something in the subject line that really catches my eye. So definitely compliments there. One thing I wanted to share about what y'all are doing at Suerte, I think, you know, earlier y'all were kind of talking about how do you keep your crew, you know, in positive spirits. And one thing that I appreciate about what y'all did at Suerte is that It's Gonna Be Okay campaign with Fermin and having the shirts and everything made. So can you share a little bit more about how that campaign kind of came about and like what was the purpose? Because I think it brightened a lot of people's spirits during this time.
Yeah, so I mean, Fermin is an amazing guy with an incredible, infectious, positive spirit that people want to be around and they want to connect with. And he is really good at social media. Like, I'm terrible at it. My personal accounts are almost non-existent. Like, I don't have a knack for it. But Fermin does. And so on his personal account, it was just a funny turn of phrase. You know, his first language is Spanish. He grew up in between northern Mexico and Texas. And he just started saying, like, it's going to be okay. Like, you know, the phrase, it's going to be okay. Well, I don't know why he invented that turn of phrase that he did, but he came up with it's going to be okay. And then, you know, was using it on his own personal Instagram. And we started using it from the restaurant. And then, you know, our graphic designer is a wonderful friend. She did our logo. She lives in Mexico City. Her name's Blair Richardson, and she has Mini Super Studio. And, you know, she's been incredibly generous with her time helping us, you know, tweak things and come up with, you know, some merchandising stuff that we could sell. And she said, hey, like, can I help you guys turn this into a t-shirt? And we were like, yeah, of course, that sounds great. People started asking about it, and she came up with the t-shirt design. And then she asked, you know, hey, there's a local friend of mine that owns a restaurant called Cicatriz in Mexico City, and he loves the "It's Gonna Be Okay" mantra. And, you know, could I, you know, design something for posters for him to put up in his business? We were like, yeah, of course. I mean, you know, jump on the "It's Gonna Be Okay" train and let's see where it takes us. And so she made some like hand printed on paper, like designed some posters that they printed and mailed us some. And so, yeah, it's been fun. And I think people connect with that. And I'd like to also just briefly mention a project similar to what Chef Tim described, you know, supporting the mental health of restaurant employees in Austin. You know, we celebrated our 1-year anniversary by starting the Mike and Sherry project in Austin, inspired by 2 longtime customers that without, I think, ever coming out and saying it, had been like a second family for many of the employees of restaurants that they go out to visit. So in their honor and inspiration, we started the Mike and Sherry project, supporting the mental health of restaurant and bar employees in Austin. And we partnered with local nonprofit called Capital Area Counseling, where anyone that works in the industry can get an appointment with a counselor. And it's a sliding scale of affordability where the less income you earn, the less money you pay. Appointments cost between $50 and $65. All participating member restaurants of the program in Austin have a relationship with CAC where all of our staff can get an appointment, and the restaurant pays $15 and the employee pays $10. And it's a fixed rate fee. There's no limit on number of appointments. We never know who's using it. We just get an invoice for how many employees use it. And just to mention that, I'd love to talk with folks like from the Bakery Lorraine and Tim, if there's a way to extend that service to your team and your crew, I would love to do that. And if Tracy, if it ever makes sense to bring something similar to Houston, I think people are on edge these days, right? Like people are, you never know, you always never knew what was going on with someone day to day. You never know what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes, but especially right now, it's like, we can't be everyone's parents. We have to run a business, but at the same time, we deeply care about all of the people whose hard work and talents enable the business to work. So just trying to do everything we can.
I think that's amazing. I think that's incredible. So now that you've operated in this space for, 6 months or so, what would you say that you would have done over if you had the chance? Like, what would you have maybe had in place earlier, or what would you consider going forward? What would you do differently?
Say that one more time.
Oh, I was just going to say, now that you've been doing this for 6 months or so, I'm trying to monitor questions too. Now that you've been doing this for so long, what would you have done over? If you, now that you have the insight from this time, March rolls around, last March, what would you do differently? What would you have put in place earlier? What maybe would you do, now going forward? Anything kind of words of wisdoms or tips that you would kind of like to share with everybody?
So you're referring to the next time we have a pandemic? What,
but I mean,
what do we plan on doing?
I think for me, I'm looking at these folks who are announcing their restaurant openings right now, and they're opening in the middle of a pandemic. And so I think this is a really interesting time to be opening up a place. But I think also, as someone who, many of y'all are seasoned restaurateurs now, what have you learned? Like, what are your lessons?
Well, I mean, I think, if I was opening a place right now, which clearly the people that are opening in the last 2 or 3 months probably planned on opening in March, and they probably deferred rent for 3 months, which is what everybody was probably able to do, deferred their loan payments for 3 months. Generally things happen in 90 days of relief. We'll give you, we'll defer your rent for 3 months. We'll defer your loan payments for 3 months. We'll defer you paying your vendors for 3 months. And so now here we are at the end of the 3rd month, and there's no choice but to open. You have to get some cash flow. You got to pay the management team that you hired back in February. You got to pay, the vendors that you order the food from. You got to start paying rent. Even if it's a percentage rent, most landlords are like, okay, you got to open. We got to do something here. And the bank is like, hey, you got to pay something. So I think that's why we're seeing some of these places open up in the last month or two. They're under some pressure where they have to do that. And all right, can y'all hear me? Yeah. And okay. And so if I was to go back and know that this pandemic was coming in March, if that's the question, I would have figured out some way to move everything outside. Knowing what I know now, I would concentrate on a real focus on outdoor, which is what we're doing now company-wide. We're investing in all of our outdoor spaces. I have an event center as well, and we're looking to convert the outdoor space there into a supper club where we can do live entertainment, because people are dying for live entertainment right now. And we can do it safely, where we do tables of 10, and it's a supper club. You buy the whole table. You got to know everybody at the table. And, but we have live entertainment, but it's all outdoor, and ends up being, we're calling it the coal house, where we're doing everything on Dutch ovens over open fire, and everything comes to the table course by course. Everybody has the same thing, but it's fun and interactive, yet outdoors. And the other thing I would focus on is establishing a little more, to Tracy's point, you get in this business, and especially if you're as successful as all these people are on this panel, the train starts moving at a pace that you really, and then when it stops, you realize the train's going so fast, and you have so many arms that you need to take care of that train. And so to her point, now that you take half the shifts out of it and slow it down a little bit, the focus is more intent on what's happening. You run a little bit leaner. You pay attention to the details even more. Not that everybody on this panel doesn't pay attention to details, because we know they do, but I would do that in March, knowing it's coming. Okay, how do I trim and get lean before this happens? We know this is coming. How do I focus my stuff to the outside? How do I set up outdoor dining, which we know people are going to want to do? If I have even a little chunk of sidewalk, I'd build something out there to make it a lot nicer for people to want to be outside. Like, we can't stop any virus, right? It doesn't matter what we do. I say this all the time. The cleanest place in public spaces is actually space there is. It's not like people go in and have a health inspection at an office building that's 35 stories tall that runs 100,000 people through it a day. but we get inspected. You know, us and hospitals are the cleanest, you know, public spaces there are, because they're required to be cleaned. And so it's hard to get that message out to people because we just got shamed so bad in the beginning. And I would project that message, you know, and it's going to be part of people's talk now. It is now, right? But everybody put out an Instagram post, hey, we have these safety protocols. This is what we're doing. But in reality, we all do that already anyway, right? So I think the better message, and if I would have known it was coming, is that we would have been projecting that message for the last 20 years, which I feel like we do, but we don't publicly say it. And so I think we would have had people, our guests would have felt safer then, and also safer on the comeback, going, oh, we already know it's clean. Like, we have to tell people that, even though we already know inherently that our spaces are clean, and we sanitize things. And, you know, I mean, the wearing the gloves thing is, to me, it freaks me out. I mean, if people wash their hands properly, it's a lot cleaner than people wearing gloves, because people don't think about gloves, right? But publicly, we got to wear, you know, people are making us wear gloves because they think they think it's safer. So I think our safety protocols ahead of time, letting people publicly know how safe it is and what our restaurants is, would be the very first thing I would want to do.
What about you, Tracy?
So back in the beginning, early March, when we shut down, I'm a little bit of a worrier. So I was doing a lot of worrying and a lot of stressing, and I was laser focused on the businesses, and really wasn't getting enough accomplished, I guess I could say. A lot of time spent worrying, researching, you know, just trying to stay on top of things. And if I had it all to do over again, I would select some huge project, either on myself or something to accomplish. And I would use that time more effectively than I did. You know, I did spend a lot of time worrying, talking, and not getting much accomplished. So that's what I would do.
And Andy, did you have anything? Jeremy?
I don't know. I think at the beginning there was a shutdown, and then coming out of it, we were kind of looking for like state and federal leadership to kind of give us a clue as to what to do. And eventually we figured out what worked best for us. Closing one dining room, keeping the other ones at 25, not 50. I think I would have done that sooner. Just trusted ourselves and what we felt comfortable with, what our team felt comfortable with, instead of waiting, because a lot of the times it felt like they didn't know what they were doing or what was going on. I love this industry, by the way, just how flexible and innovative everybody is. And it's just been amazing to kind of be a part of it. So at the beginning, we did anything. We were just throwing mud at the wall and saw what stuck. And I think we probably still do that. I think some of the things we tried might have worked if we left them in place a little bit longer, but we're like, that's not working, pivot to this. But I think not waiting for leadership when we're leaders of our own space, we should have just, you know, done something that would have been more consistent for our crew, for our customers, and we would have been in line with whatever they said, you know, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dan, what about y'all? What lessons? Definitely.
It's a great question. It's hard for me to put my mindset in like looking at the post-mortem of going back yet, because I feel like I'm really focused on just like how we're going to survive moving forward. And yeah, it would be hard to kind of look. We all made the best decision we could with the information available at the time we made it, with the people around us, and to kind of go back and say like, nah, I screwed that up. Like, yeah, there's probably a few of those, but I don't even know if I can take my mind there without just beating myself up. And I don't think that'll help me tomorrow. But I certainly agree with what Tracy expressed, that like I wasted some time just talking to people, and I could have spent that doing something else. On the other hand, like those connections and the relationships that I was regularly talking to people that I don't normally regularly talk to in our industry, like people I know and I see at events, but all of a sudden I'm calling them and talking to them, you know, and sharing information. And so, you know, maybe something wasn't lost, and although it does feel like the time was wasted and we didn't accomplish anything, I understand that. I feel like I could have been more productive as well. And what Tim said about outdoor spaces is, you know, every restaurant is one of one, even if it's part of a multi-unit concept, like every location's different, but certainly focusing early on about utilizing outdoor spaces. And, you know, maybe I can wish that we would have landed on this kind of taqueria concept formula earlier, that we, you know, had tried a few different things before we kind of felt that new direction. And it was really exhausting. Like changing your whole business and all the details that go into it it's tiring. And so, you know, maybe if we had found the taqueria concept earlier, we would have not expended so much energy doing something one week only to, like, you know, change again a week or two later.
So speaking of leadership, that brings me to my next question, and it might be my final one. But Chef Tim Love, can you talk a little bit about what prompted you into getting really heavily involved in the Independent Restaurant Coalition? I mean, you and a group of chefs, national chefs, have done such great work. And I know that you had to overcome a lot of challenges with legislation and dealing with the politics in Washington.
Yeah, I can say this. The one thing that as we like to refer to it as the vid, has taught us that, you know, this industry, to his point, is, you know, it's a super resilient industry. We're the land of misfits without a doubt, and that's why we chose this industry, because it's an industry that accepted us while we were young with crazy ideas and this very entrepreneurial dreams of showing things that we're passionate about, right? It doesn't matter what you do in this industry. Anybody that does it to a high level is very, very passionate about it. And then you have the vid come along, and all of a sudden everything kind of switches from you being able to express your passion to you're in straight survival mode. And all of a sudden you got to become a new CFO. You got to become a new HR person. You got to become a politician. All these things start, not that you aren't all those when you're in the restaurant industry anyway, because you are, but they all become very focused and singular. And, we got together, a few of us, a couple of guys from New York, a couple of guys out of North Carolina and South Carolina. And we started talking, hey, we really don't have a voice as an independent restaurant group. You know, we have the National Restaurant Association, which is great, but they really represent very large chains, and they represent these very powerful lobbyists of chains, and they do good. I'm not saying that they represent what they're supposed to represent, but we don't have anybody that represents people like us who have gone out on a limb, spent a bunch of money, and we've never really had to face that, right? The challenges we see in independent restaurants generally are singular. You know, one particular independent restaurant just didn't make it. You know, everybody tells you the stories when you first open a restaurant. They're like, yeah, you realize, 1 in 1,000 make it, or, always somebody's telling you that story. But now every single restaurant is on the verge of not making it when we get into this pandemic. And so we needed to form a group. We got together with a few people, and it started to grow and get some girth and next thing you know, we hired a couple lobbyists of our own, and people started listening. And it's been really quite amazing. And then when the president formed that restaurant group, we put 2 seats in there for the IRC, and then I went and fought and got my own seat at the deal. So we had 3 seats at the table essentially, which is amazing. And you get in there, every single thing helps, right? Every voice helps, every single email helps. Every time you can get a hold of one of your representatives, it truly helps. And I think sometimes we forget that it does, because we're so focused on our little business and trying to make sure that we survive, and we're on the hamster wheel. I mean, let's be honest, we all been on the hamster wheel for 6 months, and that's what it feels like. You keep running harder in the same spot. You look out, the window looks the same. I mean, you're like, what the heck? But we found a time and a place to get a voice, and it's happening. We got the PPP extended, which I had to help everybody. I know it helped me for sure in order to get that money forgiven, because we couldn't even hire people back. I mean, our legislation was a 3-week solution to a 6-month problem. And so we got that solved, right? Now we're on round 2, and we're fighting heavily to get a true relief fund. I mean, the airlines get a relief fund, the cruise lines are going to get a relief fund, the banks got a relief fund. We should get a relief fund. We are the heartbeat of America. We are the people that keep people happy, and it's up to us and everybody that it's up to your 80,000 person email list, Tracy, to email their congressman and say, hey, we need you to get behind this. And if they do, they have no solution, right? They have to do it. And I never thought I'd be on a soapbox like that talking about politics, because I really don't care for it. But I do care for everybody that's on this panel and everybody that's in my industry. And I'll fight to the death. I really will. And it's great to see we've made some strides, but we've got a long way to go, right? And I don't want anybody that's on this call to be, heck, don't want to be closing myself. And the only way we do that is to keep fighting, keep supporting each other. And we do that through legislation.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, Tim, and to know that you didn't realize that you needed to get involved legislatively until you did. I will tell you that the Texas Restaurant Association has been representing independent restaurants for 83 years. So we represent restaurants independent here in the state. We go to the Capitol and lobby. We go to cities and lobby on restaurants' behalf. And we also represent people at the national level too. Our CEO, Dr. Emily Williams-Knight, was on the phone with Secretary of the Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin, just yesterday, which I think I updated you about in the chat. And just as a point of reference, like TRA has been around for a long time, and a lot of people don't realize that they need their association until they need their association. But we're here for you. We are here to help defend you, even when you don't realize that there's legislation coming up at the city level or state level or national level. We are the ones, that are fighting very, very hard day and night to make sure that you guys are protected. So I'm happy that the IRC got created, because I think it put a lot of attention on the independent restaurants. But I will tell you, your state restaurant associations, that's where the fight happens. So long after IRC runs out of money, we are still going to be here to help defend them. And we can't afford things like hiring celebrities to narrate our videos, but we can afford Zoom accounts to bring you education for an entire week, for sure. But Tim, we would welcome you to get more involved with TRA, absolutely.
I'm a member.
I think on that note, I have one more question for all of y'all that I was asked. One person asked regarding takeout, and they said, if you could change something about your current takeout system, what would it be? And that seemed to be a common one. So does anyone want to share that before we close out?
We didn't, before the pandemic, about probably 5 or 10% of our business was takeout. Now it's about 30, I'd say. And so we scrambled to add more platforms. And we, at the time that the pandemic started, we were trying to get everything onto one platform where it would send one order. Everything would be consolidated onto one platform. And we were just, I would say, just a couple of days too late finalizing that, and then they got too busy. So it never happened. It never all got put on one platform. So we were monitoring a number of tablets, and then also through our online store, we were having to monitor for our own delivery. And I would say that the thing that I wish we could do better is I wish we could do it faster, accurately, with better service. So those are the kinds of things I think that we could improve on for delivery and just online purchases for curbside.
Anyone else want to share their thoughts on that?
We just got done implementing something really similar to that, because I realized we signed up for all the delivery programs that were available in town when we only used to work with about 2, plus our own online ordering on our website. And it required one person to staff all the tablets and make sure all the orders were going out properly. So we signed up for this software. Well, it's an app called Chowly that integrates everything with our POS system. So when everything comes in, it pops up in your POS. It's not perfect though. And we moved our online ordering to Square so that we had more control ourselves, but also it's a system that's not perfect. And all these developers are responding to our needs right now. So I found it very helpful to constantly be in touch with them and share everything and anything that we've all experienced, anything that's lacking, and because they really do need that feedback. It's easy to get wrapped up and frustrated. Why doesn't this work? But then we forget that there are other people out there, they're working on this, but they need to hear from us in order to fill the void.
We have a walk-up window here at Pearl as well, which I would put in every location if I could now. The walk-up window is great.
I'm a fan personally. I've taken part in it when I visited San Antonio.
Yeah. Beat the line. Just take the, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, what about y'all? As far
I would
as
say for us, I mean, I'm still thinking about if there's a delivery formula that makes sense for us. So, I don't have the answer to that yet, but, I think there's a lot of details that go into someone getting, warm, delicious food that travels well and gets to you and is still the way you want it to arrive. And so it's something we're still thinking about. And definitely, like Tim said, the hamster wheel is real. So it's like if you give 20% of your money to Uber Eats, then you're working harder, making more food to maybe end up in the same place, maybe come out. So like, I don't know, maybe there's a way for us to kind of do our own delivery or partner with the right person or come up with the right offering or, link up with a catering company that can make a lot of food that doesn't have much work right now to produce a lot of one thing that there might be demand for delivery in, but it's like, you don't want to get over your skis when the main objective is just like scratch and claw and fight to see tomorrow and see tomorrow and see tomorrow, see tomorrow. And if you see enough tomorrows, someday the business environment's bound to be a little bit better than it is right now. So it's just, let's see a bunch of tomorrows and see them together,
All I can say is I hope that Taqueria continues to live past this time frame because it's been amazing to experience. So hopefully that maybe
we want to open a Taqueria now, so we'll start looking for spaces.
Well, y'all, thank you so much. I really am grateful for y'all to share your insight today. Thank you for being on this panel. And thank you to TRA for hosting us and allowing us to share these thoughts and ideas with everyone.
Sure. And Miriam, I also do have the winner to announce of the blender from Mission Restaurant Supply. Again, you guys are not eligible, but I did want to echo what Miriam said about Sam's comment. I've spent so much money at Suerte during the pandemic. Please. And those paletas are so amazing. My only gripe was y'all ran out of my favorite wine like day one, which was too bad, unfortunately.
Now I have to go drive to Austin today. It sounds really good.
You should do it. Let me know if you're going. I'll meet you there. We'll hang out in the parking lot. But I did want to announce that the winner of the Missions raffle, the Warring Extreme Blender with the two 64-ounce Raptor containers, is actually a restaurateur there in Fort Worth. Chef Lev, it's not you, but it is Russell Kirkpatrick of Riata Restaurant, which is a wonderful, wonderful spot there in Fort Worth. We love going there as well. So Russell, congratulations. Pam from Mission Restaurant Supply will be in touch soon to work out delivery with you. Thank you so much to each and every one of you, especially Miriam, to you, my dear friend. Thank you for hosting this panel. This has been really, really wonderful, and a lot of people have enjoyed it. So y'all keep on fighting the good fight. If you need anything, we're here for you as well. Y'all have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.